Welcome to today's episode. Today, I'm really thrilled to have a friend and someone who is working to make a difference for students. He's built something amazing. And we have Mike Melendez joining us. And pretty much he's helping students transition from the classroom to careers. I think, and I've played basketball with Mike, so I know him. Mike is passionate about mentorship, career preparation, and building a tool that connects young professionals to opportunities that would help them thrive. Okay. So today we're going to explore some of those challenges, speak about networking and a few practical things. So thanks for joining us today, Mike. Really good to have you.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So we're going to start off as we always start off with lots of our guests. We just want to understand what's your story, how did it get here? So tell us a little bit about that, Mike. Tell us the good stuff.
Well, I guess my journey, I was studying in university and I remember changing my major about 5 times throughout the process because I just didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And because of that, it took me a little while longer to graduate with my first degree compared to some of my peers who had graduated high school at the same time as me. So I remember looking around at them and thinking, oh, wow, like they're so much further ahead of me. I'm like a year behind, a year and a half behind. I need to get it together. What am I doing? I ended up starting with a chemistry major and then ended up graduating with a finance degree. So, and a bunch of other majors in between. So I felt like I was struggling a bit to think about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life because it seemed like such a big decision at that point in my life. And then when I graduated, I was thinking, gosh, well, I'm done. Like I'm over the hump. I got my degree. Now what? Now what do I do? And, a second feeling of confusion and feeling lost crept in. Eventually I found my way. I ended up having some really good jobs. But then I moved to Australia. So I'm from New York originally, moved to Australia and my career basically started from scratch. I had to start over again. So a third feeling, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Where do I go from here? So that concept made me start wondering if other people have these feelings, maybe not the exact same things that I went through, but the twists and turns of people's career journeys became something that was an interesting concept to me.
Yeah, no, very, very interesting because I think most people at a certain point in their career or studies, they do feel that way. Like there were times as well when in uni, I felt like, oh, I'm a little bit behind my peers. And knowing what I know now, if lots of young people out there know that, I think they'll approach things a lot differently. But anyway, I'm sure we'll dive into that. So that's good. Clearly, your journey so far has shaped you into wanting to mentor people and wanting to then give back. Was there a specific moment that kind of sparked that mission? That's saying, yes, okay, no, I'm going to help young professionals. I'm going to help students actually get into a mindset or guide them to make the right decisions.
Yeah, I think it was gradually over time, to be honest. I felt weird, like admitting to other people that I was a bit lost or that I didn't know what I was doing or that, I thought that I wasn't doing as well as my peers. I had this vision in my head that everybody else had all their stuff together and I was the only one that was just kind of falling behind and unsure. So it took me a while to start having those conversations with people. But then when I did, I realized that a lot of people did feel this way as well at some point. Most people right in the beginning like me, but other people at different stages of their career, they felt unsure. They didn't know what to do. They were completely lost. Maybe some situation in their life happened where, they just didn't know what to do. So it kind of reinforced this idea that I had in my head that I was lost and had these moments throughout my journey where I just didn't know what to do. It was reassuring to know that I wasn't alone, obviously, but it also made me realize that there's a problem that these people are facing at different stages of their careers, and it doesn't seem like there's a really solid resource to tackle that as much as we might think there is. There actually isn't.
Yeah. And that's very important, because even just speaking from lots of small businesses that I speak to, or lots of business owners that are looking for good talent, and there's so many people that are talented out there, but and feeling inadequate as to what they can offer, but they can offer a lot. And as you said, there's that gap. So it definitely sounds all right. It's obvious that the job market has a gap, and there's a difference between the educational system. Okay, so is there a way that, or rather, do you think of any ways that you can bridge that gap, or is your tool going to help people bridge that gap? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah.
Or in fact, what gaps do you see in the first place? Yeah.
This is an interesting question, because when you think about it, you would think, there are no gaps. You look at websites like LinkedIn, which is like the career website, and you think, well, that's one of the biggest platforms in the world. Obviously, they've got it all covered. But if you really take a deeper look at a platform like LinkedIn, you see a lot of people a bit further in their career that are promoting themselves. They're talking about a promotion that they got. They're talking about a new job that they got, an award that they won, how amazing their team is. They're drawing attention to themselves, almost like a social media platform, to get likes, to get engagement, to get people to view their profile, stuff like that. And young professionals that are just starting out, they might not have those accolades or that experience to promote themselves in the same way. So it does almost have like a social media platform feel, especially now compared to, maybe 5-10 years ago. And you look at the advertising on LinkedIn, it's business to business advertising. They're selling things from one business to another, which is geared towards decision makers in companies. So again, they're people that are a little bit further along in their careers that are that those ads are relevant for. So a platform like LinkedIn, I don't think it really has that element of, hey, let's guide you on your career journey. Let's get you started. Let's help you. Let's provide you with support. They do have premium features, which are really good and strong offerings on their premium features, but the price point's really high as well, which I don't think really is something that's very suitable for that younger demographic.
Yeah.
Again, that's just starting out, may not even have a job yet, or
Correct.
May not have a ton of money. So,
yeah, I think at that age as well, you're thinking about a lot of other things you can do with your money.
Yeah,
Paying off a
exactly.
credit card you shouldn't have got it, just getting a car. Lots of other things you can spend your money on.
Yeah. So, and then you look at career services at universities. I've spoken to a lot of students, and they either A, aren't familiar with what resources are at the university, or B, they actually don't think that the resources are that great. And especially once they graduate, a lot of feedback that I heard from these students that were recent graduates was that there's not really that level of support after you graduate to kind of help you along your journey. So, at a surface level, it does seem like there are a lot of resources out there. And there are, obviously, there are career coaches. You can go online, you can find almost anything that you want. But in terms of being tailored to this specific demographic, there aren't as many as you think. And there isn't like an all-in-one, one-stop shop to kind of have everything that you might need.
Yeah. No, very, very important, because you mentioned a few things there. And from that, it sounds like these people need to do something, So if I was to ask is, do you think building professional relationship is a good way for them to actually bridge that gap? Not going on LinkedIn and trying to shout the loudest as well, or what do you think?
Yeah, look, I think building relationships, whether it's for your career, for your hobbies, for your whatever goals you have, fitness goals, financial goals, it's one of the most important things that you can do in your life. I think there's a phrase that's like, show me who your friends are and I'll show you what your future is, or something like that. And it's so true. And I think it's one of the most underrated pieces of advice out there. The people that you surround yourself with are so important to how you're going to develop and how you're going to grow. And when you're first entering your career or leaving university, when you think about it, this is the first time in your life that you have the most freedom and control to choose who you surround yourself with. When you're a young kid, it's basically, who are your mom and dad's friends, kids. That's going to be your circle, and then as you go through school, it's who's in your class. That's going to be your circle. When you go to university, you have a little bit more freedom and versatility with the people that you can have around you. You start to choose people that have similar hobbies, similar majors, similar interests and stuff like that. But then as you finish university and you go out into the real world, you have as much freedom as you've ever had, more freedom than you've ever had to start surrounding yourself with the right people. So it's a really crucial time to take advantage of that. Because again, the people that you surround yourself with, they rub off on you. And if all your friends are waking up and going to the gym in the morning, and you hate going to the gym, eventually you're gonna start going to the gym. Either that or you're gonna pull them all down and you're all gonna be lazy. So. But chances are, if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of people with a similar habit, you will pick up that habit. So. And that applies to everything, your financial goals, again, your hobbies, your fitness, maybe even your diet, like everything that you can think of. If you surround yourself with people that are where you want to be or who have similar goals, it's going to make a massive difference. So, the importance of surrounding yourself with people and building a network and using that to really help you, it's massive and underrated, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, having the right people around works wonders in so many ways. I think for these young people now, they might be thinking, okay, yes, great, Mike. Thanks for telling us this. Some of them make mistakes. Some of them make mistakes in their approach. Some of them might even come across as just being too confident. I don't know what it is. So are there any common mistakes you see these people making? Is there any advice you can give them as to how should they connect? Because those two groups, or rather the employers and the professionals, they might be thinking about different things. Even people in a similar group, but let's assume I want to get fit and I know this group of fit people. How do I even just connect with them? Any things I should not do?
Yeah, well, I think first, don't be scared or intimidated. People on average, as long as they have the ability to in their life, some people have a lot of stuff happening in their lives, but people on average, they enjoy helping people. Being a mentor is super fulfilling. It's one of those things that teaches you something. It feels great to help somebody out and get them on the right path. It's one of those things that money can't buy. So it's a very valuable experience for a mentor. First and foremost, just don't be afraid to.
I'm scared.
Yeah, to go out and ask people to help you or to guide you. In terms of mistakes, I think some people want to shoot for the moon right away.
Okay.
And I think it's actually a lot better for both parties if you try to connect with people that are maybe only a little bit further ahead in their journey than you are, because they're going to know exactly where you are because they were just there. So they're going to be able to give you the most relevant advice, as opposed to somebody who is all the way over here. Of course, they're going to be able to give you great advice, but they might not be able to relate to you as well. And they might not truly remember the intricate details of what it was like at that exact stage of life, as opposed to somebody who was recently there. They'll be able to really, really understand where you're at, and you'll be able to really relate to them because there's not a humongous gap. So I think the learning will be really great, and you'll both be able to relate to each other. Okay. And then it'll get to a point where you're actually helping each other as well. So, I would say almost building relationships incrementally. Obviously, it would be great if, when I was 18, my network was the fittest guy in the world or the richest woman in the world or the most successful, whatever, but what are the chances of that happening realistically? And B, how would we really relate to each other in terms of, day-to-day issues? Probably not too much. So, I think building your relationships over time, it'll help you gradually understand the journey a bit better.
Yeah. I think it reminds me of that saying where dream big, start small, scale fast.
Okay? Yeah.
So it kind of relates. It's like, you have big dreams, but you need to start small and, going from graduating to wanting to be shadowing, I don't know, the CEO of a Fortune 500, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it would be great, but
Yeah. Okay, so do you have a favorite story of someone that has, completely changed your career trajectory? just based on networking or mentorship or?
Actually, one of my good friends that I grew up with, I've known him since I was like 9 years old, and he ever since we were little kids, he was like obsessed with Will Smith. He
Okay.
is his favorite actor, favorite rapper, favorite everything.
Yeah.
This was before the whole slap incident where he was like a pretty universally beloved guy. So yeah, my friend was like obsessed with him. He's like, oh, he's my favorite, everything. He's like, I want to work with him. I want to like be friends with him. And I'm like, all right, like cool. And but he
cool, good luck.
Yeah,
dude.
but he was like really, really serious about it. And he was he's a year older than me. So we were in university at around the same time. And he ended up graduating with, I think, like a business management degree. And he still had this like vision of like, being friends with Will Smith or like working with him or something. And he was like, he never gave up. So he was pretty serious about it. He would never shut up about it. And he ended up moving to LA and slowly building his network, like exactly what I was actually just saying about increments. He was slowly building his network, like in the entertainment industry, and having that network help him find jobs and kind of slowly build his career up. And then he got to the point where he was working in production and really, really becoming successful. And long story short, he ended up working with Will Smith, working really closely with him, doing some projects with some of Will's family members, like some of his kids. He would send me pictures and he's like in their backyard, like having like little parties, hanging out with them. And it made me think like, that's actually amazing because it was something that he wanted ever since he was a little kid, and he made it happen, and he made it happen gradually, just like that saying, where you scale. What was it? You dream big,
start small, skill fast.
Exactly. And that is word for word what he did. So, he had a dream and he incrementally worked his way to getting there. And we've talked about it, me and him, and networking was one of the keys to doing that slowly. Like he obviously didn't hit up Will Smith out of college and say, hey, let's be friends. He gradually worked his way there. And, by the time they had met, they were close enough in their journeys that they were able to relate to each other. And that's what made it work, as opposed to him just, trying to work with him as a 22-year-old with no experience.
I think that's an amazing story. I think even just relating to something that happened today. And I think that's manifestation, and
Totally.
That is manifestation on another level, because that was for years and he worked towards it. But today we were at a networking event and there's usually a lucky door prize. And it was a nice gin that was offered as a prize. And I was like, I want that gin. and then I was just like, I want it. And I was just saying it out loud. And then they pulled someone. It wasn't me.
Oh,
okay,
no.
But that person doesn't drink. So they had to pull again. I was like, it's going to be me. It's going to be me. They pulled again. And the other person didn't drink as well. And I was like, no, it has to be me. And finally they pulled my name. I was like, whoa, even me at that point. And that's just a small example. I know I didn't put any work towards it, but just believing you're going to get something, because I actually believed I was going to get it. So then I was like, whoa, okay. And it just works wonders as well. And I think people, sometimes we're in a society where lots of people want to actually get things a lot quicker than they should. But if you plan long enough and hard enough, you can actually get to where you want to get to.
I think you listen to anybody who's successful in anything, they'll tell you that there's no magic trick. There's no, somebody doesn't just pull up to you on the side of the street from a limousine and ask you if you want to be a movie star. It's hard work and it's showing up every day. But yeah, the whole manifesting thing, like I totally believe it. I think, that positive energy or belief, I think it actually goes a long way, even though, it seems like maybe people might not believe in it. I genuinely think that it really goes a long way.
Yeah. And I guess just pivoting to something relating to wealth, because I think human capital is actually the biggest wealth anyone can have, and that translates into financial capital over time. So for people starting careers, the financial decisions that come with long-term effects, So how do you think early career choices can impact their wealth building decisions? And I guess just to add on that, All these people that are young professionals and coming up now, you're going to be business owners, you're going to be CEOs. Some of them don't know that yet, but how do those choices affect the actual wealth building?
It's an interesting question as well. I spoke to my youngest brother about this recently because he's trying to figure out what he wants to do with himself career-wise. And I think when you think about your financial life and your career, specifically financially speaking, when you think about a career and you don't really know what to do yet, I think a really good way to look at it is to think about the financial reality of the world, right? That everything's getting more and more expensive as the years go on. The cost of living is always going up. You hear all these things about, like the generation before us, how they bought houses for ridiculously cheap, and now
$30,000.
Yeah. It's
good luck.
Depressing. I know. I know. And compared to our generation and the generations to come, it's just not the same. The cost of living and everything is just becoming more and more expensive. So when you're looking for a career, obviously you want to do something that you're passionate about, that you're interested in, that motivates you, that makes you feel good. But from a purely financial perspective, you also want to consider something that is going to give you the opportunity to promote yourself and move from position to position over time and constantly increase your salary. Either that or something that's going to give you the skills to really go out and start your own business.
Okay.
I think those are two things you should really consider. I like in old movies, you'll see like 100 people working in a factory and there's like one supervisor in the glass office sitting on top of everybody. So you've got like 100 people all on the same level and then one supervisor. I think that's like a bad example of like the type of career or structure that you want to get yourself into, because it's really hard to climb that ladder because it's a very flat structure. You want to try to find a career that has almost like no ceiling, where you can get yourself up to a CEO level, or you can start your own business and you basically have, like I said, no limitations at all. So from a financial perspective, I think looking for careers that offer you one of those two things is a really good start when you're just purely thinking about financial decisions.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing concept, and I'll just add something to that I read before now. Is in the book called Good to Great. I can't remember the author now, but he talked about this concept that I liked and I've just always remembered. It was like the 3 circles, and if you focus on careers that actually have those 3 aspects, you'll never be out of a job and you'll really enjoy what you do and you can scale. And he talked about, you want to do something that you're passionate about. It was like the passion needs to be there because that's very important. He also talks about something that you can be the best in the world at. Doesn't mean you have to be, doesn't mean you want to be, but it's just something you believe, if I worked hard enough over a long period of time, I can actually be the best in the world in this. And the last part he talked about was it has to have economic value.
Yeah.
And I think he gave the example of someone being like I can't remember, it was like a grass cutter or something. And it's like, well, that is not as economic as, being a best studio host or something like that,
Yeah.
So those are the 3 things that's like when all 3 of them come together, you can have an amazing career.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's what for young people to know as well. And obviously the whole podcast about wealth, health, relationships. And I think having the right relationships was said, still taking care of your health. Because some people out kind of work themselves and then they have bad health. It doesn't help 100%. Because it's a long-term journey. Yeah. No, so very good point. One of the things as well that I've noticed with young people, and obviously I just thinking about my first job, I don't even think I negotiated the salary. I was like, yep.
Yeah. Same.
Okay. So
I was just happy to be there.
Pretty much. So I can imagine all these young professionals, they'll definitely be thinking it's such an intimidating thing. What advice do you have for students to confidently approach this process and really understand what your worth is? And I guess there's I'll call it downside to that, right? For example, using your friend, if he thought, I only want to work with Will Smith and I should be paid X amount, no one would have given him that when he started. So how did they balance?
Yeah, I think it's another one of those things like with connecting with people. Don't be scared is the first thing. I was scared. I'll admit it. I didn't even think. I was just happy to
Yeah.
be there. Got my first
Oh,
job.
same.
That's it. But for people who think that they should be paid more, and this could be at any stage of your career. Obviously, I think you can follow the same methodology. Pick the right moment. If you're just landing a job, I think the best time to have that conversation is when they offer you the position, right when they offer you the position, because obviously they're loving you, they think you're great, you've done really well in the interview process, you've beaten out all these other people, so you're in the strongest position to do that. If you have a job already, wait until there's like a performance review, or you've just done some amazing thing for the company, and you're really being held in high regard, or that in your performance review you're smashing it, and you're going to have really good feedback. So the first thing would be picking the moment to have that conversation, and then second is the way that you present it. I'll give you two examples, I guess. One would be almost making it personal, like, oh, hey, like my rent's gone up, or I've got a kid on the way, I could really use more money.
Yeah.
That makes it a personal thing, when most of the time, 9 times out of 10, your salary, it's a business decision, so you have to make sure that you're keeping it as a business decision. So the difference from, almost asking for help when you're asking for a raise versus presenting a strong argument, it's two different types of energy. One of them is like, oh, hey, can you help me? I really need the money. And the other one is, hey, I've delivered A, B, and C over the last 6 months. I think I'm doing really well in the role. Or you can also, to add to that, you can do market research. You can see what the average is for your position, how much that person is getting paid in the market in general. There's lots of websites that you can look at to get that information, just to get an idea of what the market rate is. And that'll be a really good piece of data that you can equip yourself with, that'll present a very strong argument. And if you're just starting the job, same thing. If you've just been offered a job, you can look online, you can do some research, understand what the market average is. If your salary is below that, even for an entry level job, you still have the data to present to them that says, hey, like, on average, this is what this position typically pays in our industry. Yeah. You've just aced the interview, you just landed the job, they're going to be high on you. And you can say, hey, as we discussed in my interview, I can bring this, and this to the table. And, you're as opposed to asking for a favor, you're presenting pretty irrefutable evidence and a strong argument that you deserve this, rather than, hey, can I have this? So, presenting a good argument and not being scared to do it. I think, some people think you ask for a raise, they're going to be like, no, and by the way, you're fired. Where like that's like the worst case scenario that you have in your head. But obviously, if you're doing well on the job, or if you just beat 20 people in the interview process, they're probably not going to do that. And if they do, then you dodged a bullet, and that place is probably super toxic anyways, and you're better off without them. So yeah.
One thing I'll just add to that I was just thinking about now is, obviously, as I said, with my first job, I didn't negotiate. I was very scared. I was like, yep, take me. That's it, done. But it got better. And I think that's another thing to the young people. It's going to get better as long as you work in it. I know I definitely worked on that. And what happened with, I think my before I got my last job, before I started the business, I was actually planned ahead. So I was like, okay, I want a promotion in 6 months' time. And then I went to my boss. I was like, what do I have to do to get a promotion in 3 months' time? And she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a great question.
And she was like, do X, Y, Z. And I honestly think she did not think I was going to do one of them. Okay, and one of them had to do with doing another diploma. And I was like, I've studied a lot, had my master's in that. I was doing a professional. I was like, okay, cool. And then I went and I did it. And I did it in a short period of time as well. And then I came out like, I'm done. She was like, okay. Because then, yes, exactly. And then she had nothing to say, because I'd come to you a few months before saying, what do I have to do to get the job? So I'll definitely encourage the young people out there. I think even me, let's assume team member comes to me and is like, what do I have to do now to get XYZ? And you
Yeah,
hit
that's
that
great.
thing,
Mm.
I don't see a reason why you won't get what you want,
Yeah,
especially if it's
yeah,
reasonable, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Like you
love that.
can't go from earning $100,000 to $200,000, yeah, But that's one thing I would definitely encourage people to do. And I remember that I truly think she did not think I'll do it, but
Oh, that's really
funny
good
thing as well,
advice.
because I did it 3 months before and I knew they might have a pushback. And what they did then, they was like, "Oh, give us a few months," and they did give me the promotion after a few months, which was
Mm.
good. But I just knew all that. So planning ahead as to what you want can really make a huge difference.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I really like that. Actually, that's
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So if we pivot into health now, because obviously podcast about health, wealth, relationships,
Mm.
and I know podcast is definitely geared towards business owners, but I think these young people are going to be future business owners, and sometimes they need to just hear this from someone that is doing that and someone that's building a platform to help them get there, so they feel encouraged. Okay, generally, work, business, whatever you call it, comes with some kind of stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's your advice for maintaining mental and physical well-being for these young people out there? Especially during the job hunt, because as I said, even when I was trying to get my first job in Australia, I needed a PR. Then I didn't have a PR, so it was just this chicken and egg thing. There might be people out there. It's like, what do they need to do to not worry, maintain physical and mental health, because it actually prepares you for the job, so you're in a better shape to present yourself.
Absolutely, 100%. I think it's no secret now that mental health and physical health, they really feed off of one another. If your physical health is not great, you might feel a little bit sluggish during the day. If you're not eating right, you might feel fatigued or not as mentally sharp. So and then on the other side, if you're taking care of that side of things, you feel a little bit more sharp and energetic. So the physical and mental health things, they really feed off of one another and connect. So keeping that in mind always, without, not just letting one fall behind because you're just focusing on the other, or letting both fall behind because you're focusing on something like your career, which a lot of people do. So remembering that your physical and mental health are super important, and they're going to allow you to do everything that you want to do in your life if you have them both up to a pretty strong standard. I think that's first. In terms of physical health, just having good habits, like exercising, going out for a walk, eating right, drinking water, those types of things, they're no brainers. It's, stuff that we all know, but it's easy to fall into a bad habit, especially if you're stressed. And sometimes when I'm stressed, like a bowl of ice cream sounds like it's going to take every problem away from my life,
chocolate.
and it does for, 10 minutes or whatever, but it's about having those healthy habits and really, even when you don't want to do them, forcing yourself to do them, forcing yourself to do what is the right thing for your body from a physical perspective. And then on the mental side, it's a tough time trying to find a job at any stage of your career, especially when you're just starting out and you feel like you don't have experience or you don't necessarily know what you're doing. So a really important thing to keep in mind, which kind of ties into what we've been talking about with, trying to be from here to here, or doubling your salary right away, or, working with Will Smith when you're 20 years old with no experience. Remember that it's a journey, and it's almost a lifelong journey. It's going to have its ups and downs. It's a very slow process. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So your time's going to come, things are going to work out. You're going to have different changes and twists and turns, but it's a huge, long journey.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that, it's, if you don't, become a millionaire in the first year, it's okay. If it takes you a little while to find a job, it's okay. If you lose a job, it's okay. It's just a small part of the journey. You're going to continue on. You're going to do different things, and you're learning along the way. So you're going to be better equipped for the journey compared to, 6 months ago. So a big thing that I say to people whenever this topic comes up is to also not compare yourself to other people at all. You can get inspiration from other people, you can say, I want to have this guy's job one day. I want to network with this guy because he's amazing at this. I want to learn from this guy. That's totally fine. That's healthy. That's great. You should surround yourself with people that you want to be like, but don't compare yourself to them, because that just opens the door for feeling jealousy or feeling inadequate, because you're comparing a small aspect of that person's life. You don't know the whole story of that person's life. You have no idea what's going on in their personal life, what demons they're fighting. Nothing. You're comparing one thing, the car that they drive or the job that they have. So you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're just picking one small component and comparing that. So don't do that. Like, just straight up, don't compare yourself to other people. The only person that you should ever compare yourself to and be really competing with is the person that you were 6 months ago. You should always be trying to beat that person and be better than that person in every way. Other than that, don't, only compare yourself to you 6 months ago, and that's it. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because chances are it's just going to make you feel, depressed or inadequate or all these other negative things, which, they don't help you at all.
Help. Yeah, that's definitely great, amazing advice. I guess now let's actually talk about your tool, okay? I think it's important for people to know. And I think the amazing thing about this tool, I know usually you've been coming about it from the perspective of helping the young people. I think lots of business owners will actually love this tool as well, because it helps them be connected to the people that can help get into jobs, the people that can mentor, people that can do future businesses with whatever. So can you walk us through, first of all, what's the tool? Can you walk us through how it works and, how this actually helps students build meaningful careers?
Yeah, definitely. So the platform's called Path Booster, and it's basically, yes. Yeah. So it's all about basically helping people throughout their career journey, starting with helping them land their first job. So one of the key components to do that is a job board, which will act like any other job board. You see an opportunity, you apply for it. The drill. That's pretty standard. But with this job board, it'll be specifically dedicated to jobs that are relevant to this demographic of people that are just starting out. So it'll be graduate programs, internships, entry-level jobs, or even some part-time gigs on the side if somebody needs to, have a small income while they're studying. So it'll be specifically tailored to those kinds of jobs rather than just every job imaginable, which when you're just starting out, 90% of those aren't going to be applicable to you. So a dedicated job board is the first point of difference to really match this demographic with the opportunities that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And then a point of difference is that the users can create a profile that can help them really showcase themselves a little bit more than, well, actually a lot more than a standard resume can. So when you're just starting out, your resume is not going to have a ton of experience on it. And, you might even think that your resume looks like everyone else's when you're applying for a job, because you're all kind of at that same level. So the profile feature will basically let you create like a short intro video of yourself, like 30 seconds. You're just introducing yourself. They get to see your face, a glimpse of your personality. You can talk about what your background is, your interests, your passions, all that stuff. You could also upload documents like examples of your work or anything that you want to showcase in terms of your capabilities.
Yeah.
You can share what clubs you're a part of, classes that you've taken that you want to specifically highlight, other websites that you want to show, like if you have a portfolio or your LinkedIn account, or in some cases, social media. If it's relevant for some people, you can highlight all of that. You can mention, your working rights, that you're willing to take like aptitude tests, that you've got references, all that stuff, all in one place. So we've tested it out with some recruiters and some employers, and the feedback was amazing. They said that in about, less than 2 minutes, you get this full glimpse of who somebody is.
Yes.
And it really makes them jump off the page, like off of their resume. So it's a really good way for them to understand who somebody is without having to sit through a 30-minute interview with them. So the time savings are there. You get a really good opportunity to see what somebody's about. And then from the young professional's perspective, they can share that profile anywhere. They could apply for jobs on other websites. They can DM somebody, email somebody. They meet somebody at a career fair. They can shoot the link over to them. And then anybody who clicks on the link basically gets to see a lot about what that person's about in like 60 to 90 seconds.
Yeah. That really sounds amazing. I think it's very good, especially things like the videos, your hobbies. And I think it's amazing because what sometimes some people don't know, and this is from my perspective, the truer you are to yourself and to the public, and especially your employer, the better you're going to have as a working environment, because then they really like you for who you are and you're not hiding behind something you think that they don't like. So I think
Yeah,
just something
100%.
our advice to the young professionals out there is like, just be true. Obviously, you don't want to go do ridiculous things on
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
right? But
yeah.
tell them about your passions and what you enjoy, and just be true, which helps. It helps you, but it also helps the employer.
Yeah, it helps them a lot. I think there's a real emphasis on how a person's going to fit with the company culture. You can teach somebody anything,
Yeah,
but you can't teach getting along with the rest of the group or that cultural fit. So
yeah,
it's become really important for people to understand how those two match up, an employee and the organizational or the company culture. So being able to show who you are, and like you said, being true and showing who you actually are without pretending to be somebody else, it goes a long way in both sides understanding if you're actually a good fit for each other.
yeah, yeah. And the few interviews I've done over my time, just trying to get people, one thing I always start with is just let them be open. And I can see that the ones that have been comfortable and really just told me everything, we've had a better working relationship than those that I sense might not be telling me the truth, or then you come and then you see that that's not what they are. So I definitely strongly encourage the young professionals out there, just be true as to what you're looking for.
Yeah, completely agree.
The thing about conversations like this is, we can go on and on and on forever, but we need to really cut this down. So in terms of how people can find Path Booster and how they can get connected with you, because I think it's amazing from both the employer's perspective and, the young professionals' perspective. How do we get onto this platform? What do we have to do?
Yeah, so the platform is just about ready to launch. We're just putting some finishing touches on some of the last features. So we're adding the ability for users to access professionals, whether it's career professionals, financial advisors, international student professionals, wellness coaches, business and startup coaches. So access to all of these people that can help guide you.
Amazing.
We're also adding courses and resources, content, pretty much as we can that'll give people an edge or a helping hand at any stage of their career. So we're building in a lot of those final resources now, but you can go on and sign up now, and we'll let you know when everything's live. So the website is pathbooster.co, so pathbooster.co.
Okay.
We've also got an Instagram account, so it's the exact same thing, pathbooster.co. Pretty easy to find. So find us there, or check out the website and sign up.
Yeah, amazing. So yes, you people have heard him. So go to pathbooster.co, sign up, and follow your page as well. So thank you very much for joining us, Mike. It has been an amazing session, and obviously your desire to help young professionals actually get a good start in life is actually amazing. And I think it's good. I wish I had that when I was starting my professional journey. It would have been a whole different journey. It could have been accelerated a lot quicker. So good on you for doing that. I think it definitely helps business owners as well. So are there any other final words you want to add? Can people contact you personally, or the pathbooster.co, or going to the Instagram page is just the best place for that to happen?
You can check out the Instagram page. On the actual website, there's a contact email if anybody wants to reach out. So please do, and I'll be happy to chat about anything.
Amazing. So thanks for tuning in today. It's been an amazing session. So I've had Mike Melendez, who has put together this amazing platform called Path Booster. Go check it out, follow, like, and if you have jobs, put them on there. If you're a candidate looking as well, jump on and find your dream job, and be true as you actually build your profile there.